Imagine a notification flashes across your phone. U.S. initiates military action against Iran. Your brain probably immediately goes to the geopolitics.
Right, the strategy or, just the headlines.
Yeah, but we need to talk about your wallet today because the fallout, well, it doesn't stay in the Middle East. It triggers this immediate shockwave across the global supply chain.
An invisible shockwave, really.
Exactly. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We've pulled together the latest intelligence reports, risk assessments, and logistics analyses to map out exactly what that shockwave looks like for you.
We're looking at shipping lanes and balance sheets today, not battlefield maps.
Right. And jumping right in when we analyze the sources, they point out that a conflict like this hits what you could call the three nerves of global logistics instantly.
Yeah, energy, insurance, and transport corridors.
Let's start with that first nerve,
Mhm.
energy. The sources actually refer to this as the instant tax.
Because it is instant, markets price in a geopolitical premium before a single supply line is even physically cut.
I mean, I saw Reuters estimating that just the risk of conflict alone adds $7 to $10 per barrel immediately.
Yeah, that fear creates a real cost that bleeds into everything. Marine bunker fuel, aviation kerosene, diesel for trucks. It's an operational tax that hits before the first missile lands.
And obviously, the center of this anxiety is the Strait of Hormuz. We all know it's a choke point, but the volume numbers the sources highlight are just staggering.
20 million barrels of oil pass through there every single day.
A quarter of the global maritime oil trade.
And don't forget the liquefied natural gas. About 19% of the world's LNG moves through that strait, and crucially, 80% of that is destined for Asia.
So if that corridor gets tight, you aren't just seeing a gas price spike.
No, you're seeing inflation in chemicals, metals, fertilizers. Anything energy intensive becomes significantly more expensive to produce.
That leads us right into the second nerve. Logistics going into fear mode.
This is where it gets incredibly messy for anyone moving physical goods. It's not just about physical blockades, it's the financial barrier of war risk insurance.
The silent killer of trade routes.
Exactly. Even a limited military campaign drives insurance premiums through the roof. Suddenly, a standard route just becomes mathematically unviable for a shipping company,
We saw a preview of this with the Red Sea crisis back in 2024,
where ships diverted around the Cape of Good Hope.
which added, what, like 30% to transit time?
About 30%, yeah. But this new conflict would pile pressure on a system that is already stressed. And the sources point out it's not just maritime aviation gets hit hard, too.
Right, because you can't fly commercial cargo through a war zone.
Airspace detours mean longer flights. That burns more fuel, but more importantly, it means fewer rotations for the aircraft. You essentially shrink the world's cargo capacity overnight.
Which is an absolute nightmare for high-value, time-sensitive goods. The briefing notes specifically highlight AOG aircraft on ground parts.
If you can't get that spare part to a factory or an airport because of a detour, you have millions of dollars of machinery sitting idle.
Or think about pharmaceuticals. Many of them require strict temperature control. If a flight is rerouted and delayed by 6 hours,
That medicine might spoil before it ever lands. The speed of logistics is actually a feature of the product itself.
then there's the third nerve, which is arguably the most insidious because it's invisible, the paper war.
Paper logistics. This is where sanctions and compliance come in. When military action starts, banks and insurers instantly freeze up. They want to minimize risk, so they cut off gray zones entirely.
So it's not just about blocking illegal trade with Iran. It's about banks refusing to process payments for legitimate companies just because the compliance paperwork is too expensive or risky.
Precisely. The cost of verifying that a transaction is clean becomes higher than the profit from the deal. So goods get stuck at ports not because of a blockade, but because a bank in London or New York won't sign off on the letter of credit.
So looking at how this escalates, the intelligence reports map this out on a spectrum rather than just a binary war or peace scenario. On the lighter end, you have scenario A, limited strikes.
Right. In that scenario, prices rise and routes get longer, but the supply chains don't snap. It's inflationary, but manageable.
But if it drags on, we enter scenario B, the prolonged campaign.
That looks a lot like the Red Sea crisis rhythm. Regular incidents, constant delays, and massive instability. You get a redistribution of the global fleet, meaning ships aren't where they need to be, and shipping rates become incredibly volatile.
And the worst-case scenario C is the shock, a total blockage of Hormuz.
Which results in global panic for freight and energy. As the IEA notes, there are very few pipeline alternatives to bypass that strait. If that closes, that instant tax becomes a global recession signal.
So bringing this back to reality for you listening, whether you are running a logistics chain or just managing a portfolio, what is the actual play here?
The practical takeaway is you need to recalculate your cost to serve. You have to factor in those potential war risk premiums now and diversify.
Have a plan B.
Always. If you rely on a single route or a single supplier, you're vulnerable. You need buffer stocks for critical parts, like those AOG examples we mentioned. Efficiency is great, but resilience is the only thing that survives a shock.
It really challenges the way we view the economy. We often think supply chains break only when ships physically stop moving.
Right.
But if fear alone can spike prices and reroute planes, it raises a pretty provocative question. Is your local economy actually just a hostage to a strait thousands of miles away?
In a hyper-connected world, absolutely. Distance doesn't equal safety anymore.
Something for you to mull over.
Eh.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.